Thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening. I don't know whether it's better or worse, but obviously the topic that we are discussing today is of interest to a lot of you. That's how you all have gathered today. I do really appreciate it. I won't take too much time. I just wanted to say a few things about where we are as a TiE Mysuru chapter. Many of you may not be purview to what's happening behind the screen, behind the scene, etc., etc. And first of all, it's been a while since I actually attended any of these, monthly events. So it's good. It feels good to be back. There are a lot of things happening, as I said, in the background to take the actions that we had from the TiECon 2026. Going forward, what is that we need to do to continue to pursue all of the action items that we had from the TiECon. That is one, and the second one is we last week or middle of last week we also had the Mysuru Big Tech Show that was organized by KDM. It was a wonderful 2-day event where the first day afternoon or evening was a dinner of all the CXOs and all of the senior leaders from Mysore, cutting across sectors, cutting across domains. We had a very lively and a good conversation about what Mysuru needs and so on. And at the end of it, interestingly, Dr. Pai, Mohandas Pai was one of the leaders on the stage. And he said, he as usual, he was very vocal about what Mysore is not doing rather than what Mysore is doing. And he being from Mangalore or that area, he constantly keeps telling us that at one point in time, Mysore was ahead of Mangalore in terms of all the activities and, where as an economy, as a startup economy specifically, we were. And now that Mangalore has taken some bold steps to put itself forward, and they're seem to be doing extremely well right now. And Dr. Mohandas Pai took that as the platform to say that Mysuru leaders need to do a lot more. Right? And then he exalted and he said, I need 10 senior business leaders from Mysuru to stand up right now and commit to the development of Mysore. And he pointed to a few people, and then 10 of us were in office. Most of us actually were volunteers. We volunteered to say that we will actually continue to work and make things better for Mysuru. So we thought that would probably end there. It didn't. So at 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the night, and he said, tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, we have a roundtable, and I want this group of 10 people to come back and present to me a 10-point agenda of what exactly you guys will do for the city of Mysore. And right after that, the WhatsApp group got created and it went buzzing. And then we were discussing and brainstorming till about 2:30 in the night or in the morning, because we had to present something to Dr. Pai. And we were able to present something to Dr. Pai on the second day at about 2 o'clock in the Infosys boardroom. And now the action item that came out of that was we are again meeting on the 31st of July, that is coming Friday, at JSS conference room, to take it down to the next level. So obviously it's not only the 10 of us who can make it happen. We would actually be extending requests for many of you to come and join us as well, whoever is interested. But it is probably something that we needed to do to set a vision for Mysuru too, and TiE intends to play a very critical and crucial part in developing the ecosystem that we have set out to develop. So obviously, a startup alone is not sufficient for Mysuru's economy and Mysuru's ecosystem to develop. We need to have the new GCCs coming in. We also need to have the existing MSMEs, manufacturing and all the other companies that we have to flourish as well. So it will require a 3 or 4 pronged strategy for us to push everything in parallel and simultaneously forward to make sure that we can take Mysuru 2.0, which includes just not the industries, but also other allied industries like the social infrastructure, like the tourism, and so on and so forth also. So we are looking forward to that. And then, many of you who are members must have also seen that we announced the formally launched. Well, we haven't formally launched. I shared the document about the TiE Mysuru Angel Network. Okay, so that's a critical step for us to start plugging in the gaps that is required in the end to support end-to-end all of the startup or entrepreneurs' requirement from the idea stage all the way till they actually become a mature company. So we're plugging those holes that are one at a time. So we will actually have the formal launch of the program probably in 2 weeks' time, I believe, correct? 14th of August or something. But after that, we will also talk about what angel investment means or investing means. What are the risks? What are the rewards? And we'll also talk about the salient features of the program that we have adopted after wide consultation with various other chapters who have launched a similar program. With that, thank you so very much. And my request to Adarsh's team, next time, please put the podium on the other side. So when people are walking in, they are not obstructing the photo and the videos that people are taking. That's my request to you. All right. Thank you very much and enjoy the evening.
Thank you for all the updates, sir. I would want to introduce Mr. Janardhan. He's just joined TiE family as an associate member. If you could just stand. He is an CA by profession. Welcome his first event actually. And I would want to do a special mention. We have a whole family joined TiE. That's none other than Pradeep's family. Pradeep is a board member, wife is an associate member, son is a student member. So very happy. Applause. Welcome, Yajat. Where are you? Yeah, stand. Yes, he's Yajat Shekhar. Okay, now may I request Anand to please introduce the guest of the day.
Good evening, everyone. As you may all know, I'm Anand Natarajan, a CM and chair of the events committee at TiE Mysuru. We have all gathered today for a very special session on sports entrepreneurship. Most of us have probably played some sport as a child. Some of us even play a sport today. But have you really thought, what does it take to make a career in sports? What are the opportunities? How can Mysore become a hotbed for sports entrepreneurship? What can we learn from some of the high-performing athletes? We will have all these questions and more answered today. Let me introduce our two distinguished speakers for our session today. Let me start with Dr. Sanjana Kiran. Sanjana is a global high-performance strategist for over 25 years, helping elite athletes and teams achieve podium finishes across the Olympic Games, World Championships, premier international events like chess, cricket, esports, and motorsports. She's an educator for 20 years in sports science, sports management, coach education programs, high-performance leadership, and esports education with global academic and sports institutions. She's a founder, COO, and CSO of ARC Shifts, a sports tech and biopsychosocial intelligence platform. I would like to know what that means, Sanjana, later. That transforms complex human performance data into unified insights, helping performers understand how they are built to learn, adapt, and excel. She's also the co-founder and CSO of Playtriot, where she's shaping esports and applied gaming ecosystem that blends competitive play, cognitive skill development, and responsible digital citizenship, creating meaningful pathways for youth and professionals to learn, perform, and thrive through the games. She's also a chief scientist at Lucidus AI, a platform that provides digital internship pathways for the youth, thereby enabling informed academic and career choices through an exploration of interests, strengths, and aspirations. She's also a visionary of the applied gaming sector, creating future-ready pathways that position esports as an incubator for entrepreneurship and employment and responsible digital ecosystems to build resilient, high-performance talent pipelines. With many feathers in her cap, I will end by saying she's a passionate mentor to young entrepreneurs, focused on community growth, rooted in ethics, empathy, and sustainable impact. She leverages her global experience and strategic insights to empower aspiring leaders, foster innovative networks, and help individuals and teams rise and thrive at their peak. Thanks, Sanjana, for taking the time and being with us today. I would next like to introduce Mr. Muralidharan Krishnan. Mr. Murali is a leading sports journalist. He's presently contributing to the Hindu Mysore edition on all sports-related topics from 2004 onwards. He contributes he contributed sports articles to the Star of Mysore Daily from 1993 to 2019. That's almost 26 years, probably the age of some of you here. Mr. Murali runs a website, www.mysuresport.com, which is the only website for sports in Mysore since 2002. He also launched a YouTube channel on sports called Mysore Sport in August 21 for encouraging Mufusal talent in digital form. He was also the honorary selector for KSCA Mysore Zone Under 19 and Under 23 from 2019 to 2022. He was the chairman of the selection committee, Karnataka State Cricket Association Mysore Zone for Under 14 and Under 16 from 2008 to 2013. He has been a Mysore University Sports Advisory Committee member from 2006 till 2017. Besides these, he started a professional chess academy in Mysore in 2012. He was involved in teaching chess to blind children at the Ranga Rao School for Blind and government schools in Sonahalli and HD Kote Taluk of Mysore district. He also worked as a guest lecturer in SDM's Institute of Sports Management, Mysore, and took lessons on fundamentals of sports journalism from 2017 to 2020. Besides all these, he's also won many awards, and some of them being Best Sports Journalist by Mysore District Journalist Association, Best Journalist Award by DYES and Government of Karnataka and Dasara's State Sports Meet 2015. Another interesting feather in his cap was when he coordinated and worked in 5 projects with award-winning global photographer Thomas Gudzowati, if that's the right way to pronounce his name, of Poland, in projects in India on traditional sports. A few of them I would like to highlight. He did a series on Nada Kushti in 2006 in Mysore. This coverage won the 3rd place in the World Press Photo Contest in Amsterdam. He did another one on Power Punch Girls on women's boxing in Kollam in 2007. This project won the 3rd prize in the Picture of the Year contest in the University of Missouri, USA. Another one was Flying Warriors, a project on Kalari Payattu, martial arts form from Kollam, Kerala. This also won another prize at University of Missouri in 2007. Clearly, he has taken our traditional sports and our cultural heritage to the global stage. Thank you, Mr. Murali, for being with us today. So with 2 distinguished sports leaders here amongst us, I'm sure all of us are very eager and excited to hear from them. We will start today with a keynote by Dr. Sanjana, who will share her journey and what we as entrepreneurs and business leaders can learn from high-performance athletes. After her presentation, we will have a fireside chat with our 2 leaders on opportunities in sports entrepreneurship and how to build an ecosystem for the same in Mysore. So let's all hear from them. Dr. Sanjana, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi guys, good evening. I really hope this is worth your time. I'm not a speaker of sorts, but I'll try. So I've just jotted out some points as I was listening to Bhaskarr speaking, and also energized by what that is for Mysore, ahead. A little bit about me. I'm Sanjana, like you heard, and Anand, I think that was a lot you spoke about me. I do all of that. But I'm from Mysore. I was always a below average student. Thank God I didn't fail anytime. And never serious about education. Loved sports, was not allowed to do it after high school because it was seen as a boy thing. Well, had a lot of love in the family I grew up, but did not have much support for non-traditional stuff. And then when the TV came home, the color TV, I remember I was in my 8th standard. That is when I saw glimpses of Asian Games in color, glimpses of Olympic Games. I had no clue how to get there. I didn't know what one had to do. But around the same time in CKC, me and my, classmate Vani, we had a deal with our principal, Sister Magdala then, that as long as we bring the sports shield to class, we are allowed to train the entire day. That was also because I was not interested in education. How I managed to get through the exams, I have no clue. So, which meant we would go to JK grounds, there would be a lot of tournaments, a lot of meets happening. We would observe what others are doing. We'd come back and explain to her, what, for shot put, they had something with them and they were throwing, they just had to throw far. and she would make sure she would provide that for us. We'd train for a little bit, and our goal was next meet, either she or I get the gold or the silver. We would decide amongst ourselves who gets what. And yeah, that's how sports started. And I didn't kind of resist the expectation out of me that I can't do sport, because that's how we were raised, right? We respect what parents tell us. And actually, I was very excited, looking forward to my marriage, which happens after pre-university. The boy would be chosen for me. What I think I was looking for is to have some freedom, I think, in life, to see the world, because that's what my dad used to tell me. Once you're married, you can do whatever you want. Till then, it's good to be a good girl, right? So I could not wait for my marriage, really. And till my mom passed when I was in my pre-university. And that's when I think I woke up to life and understood what life is, and got a little bit, not so much about education, but I was not in much hurry to get married after that. And for some reason, they couldn't find the right guy. And that's how my BSc happened, and also my post-graduation. And then I met my husband. Yeah, he was the only guy who did a lot of sports. I'd really forgotten my craze for Olympics by the time I was in my pre-university. So I think that's what I found attractive about him. And then, yeah, things happened. We got married, and then we moved to Singapore. So we both did our clinical psychology masters. He passed because of me. I made notes for him. Yeah, and I had to study for him and some of my classmates. And then, yeah, we moved to Singapore because he wanted to get out of India for a little bit. And I think even community-wise and society-wise, it was easy for me because I come from a Muslim background. He was a Hindu. We had a, inter-religious marriage. And things were very different during that time. So I followed him, but my master's in clinical psychology fell short in terms of how do we manage. We had 2 children by then. He used to work hard. He used to get a salary, which was good for us, but not the best in terms of according our children international school, education. Things happened. I applied for jobs. I used to get jobs, but the kind of pay and what it expected of me in terms of travel within Singapore didn't work. And then there was once we saw an ad in the newspaper that, there's some scholarship and some stuff attached to a PhD program at National University of Singapore. And that was a walkable distance from home. So purely a job and not knowing what to do was my motivation to get into a PhD. So meanwhile, just around that time, someone was visiting my neighbor, Mr. Leong. He was an elderly Chinese person, and he used to babysit my kids whenever I used to go to National University of Singapore to browse through library. Because when I put in my application, they told me that if they had to waive off my fees or give me any kind of scholarship or any support for my research, because we were in Singapore, he had a job, we were poor, right? So what they said was, if you take an exam and if you clear certain rounds of it, and if you're top 10 in them, chances are you have opportunities to do education without bearing the school fees. And that's when I used to take help from the library and prepare for it. And one evening at my neighbor's visiting our children. He was working. I came back from university, and my neighbor had a visitor who was from USA. So that visitor happened to be one of USA's athlete who went on to do a lot of things in life, his granddad. So when my neighbor introduced him, he said, you were talking about problems of your grandson, and she's someone who knows how to talk well and who can coach people. And that is when, during the Skype days, I met my first Olympic client. Yeah. So all that I've done in terms of Olympics was not by design, was not like thought through really. In the state I was then, I didn't have the courage to dream, to be honest. I was just looking at something that's going to give me some kind of education, which is going to accord enough fees to be able to send our school to international schools, to support him a little bit. And it's just like one thing happened after the other. But looking back, I feel like what I perhaps did right then, which I didn't know then, is give my best to whatever I was doing. And yeah, things happened. Then, of course, PhD started, and I started working with the university teams then. And through word of mouth, because I believe my work helped him get his medals in 2004. I could not be there at the Olympics then, but I could have a few meetings in Europe to kind of work with him in person for a little bit. 2 times, I think. And there was once in China. And that's when he, his coach, and the family started talking about me. And gradually, the number of countries getting interested in my work increased. So today I realize that was my first startup because every client I've worked with on a 4-year, 3.5-year program to prepare them for Olympics and ensure the last gap is closed where they kind of transfer their skill to get their podium finishes or be their best. Now that I'm building startups, is no short of a startup, right? That happened. And then, yeah, through word of mouth, a few more athletes came in, and that's how life happened. And then teaching also didn't happen by choice because the university used to pay for all my expenses. I didn't pay them fees. I was expected to teach for 20 hours each week. And I was thrown into the deep end. I didn't know how to switch on a computer when I started teaching. I remember my first lecture. There were 4 hours to the lecture, and the head of department told me, you know what, you have a lecture today. I was like, okay, and expected him to give me his deck of slides or notes, and he said, no, you're going to prepare yours. And yeah, I went to the library. I looked for people using computer and asked them, how do we start that computer? Because I had a room, I had a computer, I didn't know how to start it. And then that person actually helped me, build a deck of slides. And yeah, and I let my students know that, I have thought a little bit. I have worked with groups, I work with individuals, but I've not done a lecture for a master's class, right? So they were with me. Once I became a little vulnerable and told them honestly. And they ended up liking my class so much that they told the HOD, you know what, we don't want her to stop teaching us. For me, that didn't help because I had to get back home to my children. Yeah. But then again, one thing led to the other. Other universities got to know that I teach, and I became a little popular, I think. In a way, I interacted with my students. So that is how the other international universities also happened. So it really started with a need to fulfill duties as a parent, and also to support him as a wife. And yeah, one thing led to the other. So that's my story. But I am a Mysore girl, born and raised here. And trust me, whoever's young here, whoever's in your early 20s, if I were to give you 10 marks, I perhaps started at 1 or 2. And what I know today is whatever we get, in any opportunity on our lap, whether we like it or not, but if we give it 100%, then it'll lead us to where we belong. Correct? And it's much later when I was, in fact, around Beijing Olympics, when I was watching Abhinav take his final shot to get that medal. I was with my German athlete. We were having a session and we just paused to take a look at what was happening. Is when I realized I always wanted to be Abhinav in my life. I didn't know how to get there. And it's almost like after 2 Olympic cycles, I realized that is what I wanted to be. And that's where, somehow the universe conspired. Whereas all the time I was looking forward to get married. I knew my dad would give my husband a lot of money and gold, and that would be enough for him to show me around the world. And I was the most laziest person you can ever think of. The only good thing about me was I had some good values. I want to believe that. And I think I had good parents and, good vibe around that I learned a few things. So other than that, actually, I don't have much to talk about. Yeah, so that was my story. Now, in terms of what you can do, there's plenty, but I just jotted down just now while I was thinking. what are some things that I've seen common across high performers? For me, these high performers, I can't see them as Olympians or greatest of all athletes because I need to work with them and I need to help them extract the best potential they have. For that, I need to be at the top of my game, correct? So, a fandom, idolizing, I'd never had the privilege to do that, unfortunately. Even today, I can't watch a match or any sport as a fan. I'm just waiting for a day when I decide to call it a day with what I do so that finally I can enjoy sport like a fan, where I'm unhappy if someone didn't perform or make some judgment, about a team I love. But yeah, but the two things I would call it how they lead themselves and how they lead others. When I say others, you could be an individual sport athlete, but how you work with your sports science, sports, medicine team, the several coaches you work with is what I've seen differentiates them. And somewhere, when I reflect, perhaps that's what's also helped me do all that I've done, right? So, one, of course, is it must start with a place of trust, trusting oneself. No matter where you are, right? You could be at a 1 in comparison to a 10 somebody else's, but you need to trust that 1, that whatever little you have, correct? And you need to trust that to a point where you're very sure about it, but you need to be smart about how you use it. So we can't be mindlessly passionate. Our passion has to be intellectualized, and then applied. And we don't have to work really, really hard. If I was working really hard, I don't think I could have done the multiple things. Of course, it was a situation where I had to manage children and teaching and 3 jobs and a PhD, right? But again, in the hindsight, if I look at, I think somewhere I figured smart ways of managing all of it. But somewhere I didn't have fear. I didn't know that I was courageous actually then. And there was a lot of self-belief in the little things I had, correct? And they built one after the other. So believe yourself, but be very smart about how you go about it. Intellectualize your passion and your emotions, right? And I guess that is when you kind of turbocharge whatever little you have, right? Because the world will tell you and remind you to look at your weaknesses and do something about it. What has worked for me and my clients that I've worked with is that we recognize what's already working, what are the strengths, and optimize that first. In our mad rush and in our best intention to be better, we are so focused on what's not working and what to improve on that we are not using what we already have. And sometime, or rather more than often, what you have is already enough. You see, I can speak from my own experience. I didn't have a lot to offer, but I used enough of what I had, right? And when you use enough of it, that is when you discover yourself more and more, right? And should there be something which you don't have that is really, really needed, prioritize it and then work on it, correct? So take courage, self-belief, but more importantly, like I said, intellectualize your passion, because that is how you go about smartly to do things. The second is failing well. Failure will happen. Big, small, sweet, ugly, lovely. You'll have support, you won't have support. But failing well is, of course, you have emotions. You might feel angry, frustrated, and you should feel that. If you're passionate about something, then failure hits you hard. And it must. If failure is not hitting you hard, perhaps you're not passionate enough. And that does not mean you're wrong or this is not right for you. But perhaps you won't be able to give it your all because you're not passionate about it. You can always choose something where you can find a passion, right? So accepting failure is super important. Because what the world also teaches us is to push the failure under the rug and deal with it, cope with it, and move on. Do not move on, but do not get stuck either. If it hurts for a long period of time, let it hurt. That's important because that's going to make you stronger. That's going to make you resilient. Nobody is born resilient, by the way. Resilience is not about you won't fail, you won't feel bad, you won't feel weak. I feel that all the time. With every client I work with, sometimes even the same client who might have had several gold medals in 3 Olympic Games and this is our 4th, I do get scared. Now, what do we do? How do we work together to extract more? Correct? But then accepting that it's not going to be perfect, 1, and 2, accepting that failure has happened and understanding what caused it. So when you fail, you want to be your biggest supporter. Yes, you want to look for social support. That's human nature. But if you give up on yourself and if you demean yourself and you are too upset about yourself too long, then no one can pull you out of there. And you don't deserve to be pulled out. When you're being so disrespectful of your emotions, then you don't have a right to expect others to support you and make you feel better. So it's important to feel well, to understand what went wrong and also experience the emotions. But that doesn't mean the rest of the life should stop. If you feel you need to start working on something, do that along with it. But never push it under the rug. If you want to cry, if you want to scream, do it. Because when you keep stacking things under the rug, that is when it kind of becomes a volcano. And the unfortunate thing is this volcano erupts when things have just started getting into pace. And you won't be able to cope with the pressures that come with it, right? And failure also happens because when you're out with a lot of intention, focus, motivation, you want to do well. And each of us have the right to reach for the stars in whatever we do. It doesn't have to be a startup. It could be if you perhaps are cooking a meal. And if you want to be the best at it, you must try to. Because, we owe ourselves to be excellent at what we do. Right? And that's not about, that you're dissatisfied and you're being too, what's the word? Ambitious. No, it's just that you're being honest to your true feelings. But then the more you do that, that is how much failure will hit you. Correct? So fail well, accept what happened, learn from it, but don't stop. Don't stop. Right? And each of us cope with failure in several ways. For some of us, we can perhaps get over in a week or 2. But for some of us, depending on how we are designed, our personalities are designed very well. So we need to accept ourselves and be our biggest supporter. And that is what I see these elite athletes do. Right? And third, having a high self-esteem. So how different is self-esteem from self-confidence? Self-confidence is the belief that you're going to use your skill when it matters confidently. You're confident about your ability. Your self-efficacy is high. And you believe that you will use it successfully when it matters. Now, how does a person draw self-confidence when they have 20 out of the 100 things they need? You draw self-confidence from the 20 you have. You don't have to cheat yourself to believe, I know the 80. That's a lie. You won't agree to it. So focus on the 20, take self-confidence, but self-confidence is useless if your self-esteem and self-worth is not high. So you must believe that you deserve better. You must believe that you deserve what you want. Nobody can fill that belief in you. So for those reasons, do not look at where you're starting. Like I said, in Singapore, we were poor, literally. He used to work really hard. There were times when we didn't have money for 3 proper meals. Correct? Now, if I focused on that, there was no way I would have the courage to actually work with an athlete who at a level I've never worked with. Did I know then? I didn't. That's what I understand today. Correct? So don't look at your circumstances right now to dream. Look at what you want and tell yourself you deserve that. And mark my words, even if you don't have a straight, go path towards it, whatever you have, give it your 100%. The universe will conspire to make it happen for you. And if it's not right for you, the universe will also conspire that it does not happen to you. And unfortunately, we get to know only when you are older like me in the hindsight. Oh, that was the reason why that didn't happen. You see? So that particular day, when I met my first Olympian client, I don't see them like Olympians. I see them as human beings, but because that's the running terminology everyone understands in terms of, oh, this is great, so I'll use it. I was given additional work for some additional money, $185 if I did that additional lecture. I needed that money. But for some reason, I just felt, no, let me go home. And had I not come home and had I not met my neighbor's guests, then I don't think I would have started. Did I know then? No, I was hurting. The $185 was important. You see? So don't hesitate, really. Don't hesitate. Do not allow your current circumstances to kind of decide, how you dare to dream. But then just dreaming won't help, right? Even if you don't know exactly what to do, whatever you have, give it 100% and it'll take you to where you want to go. Cool. That was leading yourself. Sorry, this is becoming lengthy. And how do you lead others? So whoever is with you, whether you like them more, like them less, have empathy. Because every person in your life, it could be your in-laws who you don't like, it could be toxic people around you, but there is something about them that can be a driving force for you. If you find someone with values that you don't appreciate, that is a way of nature helping you recognize, one, not to be that, and two, to be true to yourself. As simple as that, correct? So have empathy, and also, no one chooses to be toxic or be a bad person. Most people who are that are insecure and things are not going great. We don't know if it's in their personal life or their professional life. You don't have to be a psychologist. Say a little prayer. If you say a little prayer, there's less anger in you, there's less aggression, there's less negative energy in you, and you actually feel good. And over a period of time, the tide will change if they matter to you, right? It has worked for me. Is it possible for me to do it all the time? No. But most of the time, it's possible, correct? So having that empathy and compassion. Compassion in a way that if someone is paid to help you, they don't necessarily have to do that. You see? So if someone's taking a pay and still helping you, that is still a good thing in today's day and age, correct? So have that little compassion to care for them as well, right? So while you're taking care and support from others, remember that to return some of that care back, even if it's not equal, in whatever way you can, right? And when you lead others, that is when you attract the right people around you, and these become that little village that makes you that Olympian. And I think for anything and everything we do, we need a village to kind of support us, right? And then focusing on building others and not breaking them. So whenever you can, if you don't like someone, move away. But if in some way you can build them, if you can help them, right, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel good. So whether they take that help or not, whether they benefit from it or not, you're going to benefit. So what I'm trying to say is, if your inner self is at peace, if your inner self is feeling more pleasant, if your mood is better because you didn't get disturbed by the toxic and not so great environment and you were still passionate to them, it serves you more than it serves them. All your hard work is not going to work for you unless you have that inner peace and a pleasant mood. If we choose to, there's a lot of unhappy things around us. There's a lot to complain about, correct? So when we complain, if we can ask ourselves, is there something I can do to make it better while I'm waiting for maybe the corporator to do it, for example, right? So with that, I end my speech. Thank you so much. I hope that was helpful in some way, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjana. That was a very inspiring session, or inspiring, set of suggestions you gave. And I think one needs to, think of it a little further and try to imbibe some of those things. So thank you so much. I would next like to, invite Mr. Murali and Dr. Sanjana on the stage. And this part of our session is going to focus more on what are some of the opportunities that lie in sports entrepreneurship, number one. And number two, how can Mysore, Mysore build an ecosystem for sports to thrive and flourish. So it's a chat between the two of you. Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I hand it over, and Sanjana and Mr. Murali, over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here among the TiE members and the guests here and the sports persons and who are all gathered here. Thanks for inviting me. Sports is one which involves a lot of passion. Sports needs to be popularized in our country. We are not a sporting nation. With so much of population, we need to really become healthier citizens. In order to become healthy, we need to take up some activity or the other, or play some sport or the other. Our role in the society as Indians is to give back to the society. If you are a sportsman, what you have learned through sports are life lessons. It teaches you a lot. From leadership qualities to wins and failures to coming up in life after a failure, bouncing back to victories, and sustainability in whatever you do. All these are the real things in life in other walks of, in different disciplines of life also. Our younger generation needs, from the grassroots level, needs a lot of help to improve on their sports and physical activities. As seniors, as parents, as citizens of the country, we need to make everyone healthy. Not only when doctor says that you go and run or you walk, should we walk? Or should we practice or do physical exercises? It should start from the grassroots level, from school, college, and it should become a part of the system. Unfortunately, our school education up to the postgraduate level doesn't support sports as a curriculum. We need to emphasize on grassroots level sports, community development, and bring together people to play sport. Today is a modern world, digital world. Children are occupied with different subjects, studies. They go back home after a busy day at school. They don't come out. They are digitally have their digital equipment, phones and whatnot. They get everything on their fingertips. They don't come out to the playgrounds. They don't walk. They don't breathe fresh air. And as parents, husband and wife are employed, they don't care what the child does. So at the end of the day, they start wearing spectacles. Their health deteriorates, their nutrition level dips. All these are the responsibility of parents, the education system, the educationalists who runs the school or the college or whatever institution we go, and the physical education teachers. To be very precise, not every school has a physical education teacher. And many of them are not qualified. So our system needs to be evolved from the grassroots level. We'll discuss a lot. And
Thank you.
Sanjana has been doing wonderful, as she said, and as Anand said, she's been mentoring a lot of people on high performance athletes. And it's the need of the hour. When you need performance, you need to be on top. So when you need to be on top, you need to work hard. Without working hard, you don't get results. So Sanjana, as a mind reader who can read your happenings on one individual and give suggestions, and she has done it so wonderfully.
Thank you for passing the mic. I was waiting for him to stop scolding you all. I think gone are the days I disagree with you on the parents' responsibility, sir. Because, the Gen Alpha, the young people today, they're very smart. They understand about health, really. And screens are important, unfortunately. Because, like you correctly mentioned, there's so much on the screens that is useful. But how one goes about using it, what are they using it for, is important. I agree with you that a lot of play is not happening. Again, we can't complain about parents who are doing two jobs. They're doing two jobs to provide, to give, a better life. They have their own reasons. So, but all that you said, I still like it because I'm here to encourage sports business entrepreneurship, right? That is a huge opportunity you have. All that he said. At the grassroots level, really, India, there's this Khelo Bharat Niti, the national sports policy. So if you're anyone interested in sport, either as a fan or an athlete yourself, you must read it. And the center is very, very serious about it. Because we want to host the 2036 Olympics, we need to show evidence to International Olympic Committee that we are doing stuff at the grassroots level to a point that the quality is so good that the health is improving and the medals are coming in and we have a culture of sports in the country, correct? So if you take a look at the Khelo Bharat Niti, there are 5 pillars to it. And for each pillar, there's a grassroots level work that can be done. So that's a very massive opportunity. In the room, we have a few people who are already doing that, but there's a lot of opportunity. And I agree with you about the health. And this is where I think I should answer Anand's question, biopsychosocial health. So physical activity, movement, of course, takes care of your biology because it's working on your biological systems, be it your cardiovascular system, your digestive system, your circulatory system, excretory system. But it's also helping you psychologically, cognitively, because movement has direct impact on memory, in the way you code memory when you're learning, in the way you kind of store memory, right? And in the way you kind of retrieve memory whenever you need to. So active kids are smarter kids. Active kids will do well in education. So I totally agree with you on that. And the social health is also because, unfortunately, today's day and age, and when I speak to educationists, they tell me the parents are the problem. They expect the children to have no social life but to study. Whereas when you talk to the parents, they tell you it's the school that is imposing on it. So I think when you're playing, when you're engaging in physical activity, your mood is elevated because of the chemical releases that happen because of physical, and you're a lot more laid back and chill. Your drip is very different. The vibe is different. And you're also aura farming a lot in terms of, the chill experience around you. So that's when you connect with others socially as well, right? This morning I was at my husband's. They have this little association. There were about 70 over nearly elderly men like me. I was the only woman there. They were all ex-athletes gathering together with a cake and about 12 people celebrating the month's birthday there. Right? So, and the vibe was good. Everyone was laughing, everyone was chill, nobody was talking or complaining about problems in life, because that's what play and sport does. Correct? So, those things I agree. But to hold parents responsible, I disagree. And the screens will be a very important part of every individual's life. They're not going to go away. In fact, in Singapore, they're looking at classrooms where the entire wall is, something that talks to you. Because through screens, education becomes a lot more smarter. Because, for example, if you have a game which is a lesson and that's challenging you to get to the next level by kind of challenging it, imagine the amount of intellectual investment you do in playing that game and learning and growing from it. So, But there's, talking about sports entrepreneurship, there's a lot of opportunity there and a lot of support too. And for the Karnataka government, they have the Beyond Bengaluru, effort that's going on. And Mysore is of interest to them. So, over to you, sir.
As she said, in the right spirits, we need to catch up on the pulse of what's happening, what's the need of the hour, and we need to go along with the flow. So presently we need to concentrate on, we need to catch everybody young. Youngsters, grassroots level, introduction to different disciplines, in different centers where different areas or multi-sport events like Olympic disciplines have many games. So a city needs infrastructure. Mysore needs infrastructure, has infrastructure, but it needs to be tapped. Activity needs to happen. Having infrastructure doesn't mean that weekly leagues happen or weekly tournaments happen, or having small events regularly, bringing children to play. Areas like Chamrajapuram versus Jayanagar, Montikopal versus Jayalakshmipuram, Chamundipuram versus Vidyaranyapuram, Nazarbad versus Siddharth Nagar. Community games bringing all age groups together. And an introduction to play, not becoming champions. Look at the pulse, which area is good in which sport. 4 or 5 games, select them and make them take a ground for rent and conduct these games. And invite the seniors, the middle-age group, the children, the younger lot, have different types of games, involve them. Look at the corporates who are in that area, ask them, we'll sponsor those events, brand it in their name, and why not? Why can't it be done? Bring everyone into sport. It'll become everyone's involvement, and it's a joy. They can wear the colors of Chamrajpuram, where whole area can wear their colors, same colors. They can come and cheer for the Chamrajpuram club. Onti couple can come with the Onti couple colors. They can cheer for Onti couple. So like these, when you start bringing in communities together, the game spreads, sports culture spreads. We need to bring in sports culture into the community and parents and the educational system. The educationalists should, even if they don't have playgrounds in their school, need to search for nearby schools where they have playgrounds, enter into a understanding with the school to at least utilize the facilities for some time during the day and make their children play. Don't you agree?
I agree with that 100%. Because it happens, especially in the northeast areas, where BVL, Brahmaputra Valley, Brahmaputra Volleyball League, right? If you could look up on that. So what Abhijit, who used to be India's volleyball captain once upon a time, what he did was he started the villages getting involved in volleyball, and each village had their own team, correct? And then he had makeshift setups where the phones were used as cameras. They used to use bamboos to set up a volleyball kind of like infrastructure. And 2 or 3 young people actually figured a way to broadcast it in TV, on the local TV. And just recently, he got recognized by IOC for doing that, right? And what then happened is, in that part of Assam where he was doing this, young women get married very early. So there was so much pride in people playing volleyball there because of the jerseys, like you said, and because of the identity and the joy it brought. Each village used to host the rest of the village over that weekend. So that village cooks for them, gives them a place to stay, and the rest of the teams travel from the village and then have a lot of fun. That started like that. And then he went into the sponsorship model where I also had bought a team for 14,000 rupees. So yeah, and he made sure they had jerseys, they had food. So it was a very self-sustaining system which he had. And so when the girls, the volleyball players got married, right, their husbands encouraged them to go back to sport. And they then became coaches. And he's won a lot of international awards, Abhijit. So what you're saying is correct. I think that is how it was when we were growing up. Play and sport was seen as a child's play. It was never seen as something that's extra. But I guess it's time to get back to that. And also, this Beyond Bengaluru I was talking about, if we have to make it attractive for the government to actually take action and invest in what we're doing in Mysore, we need to show them that we're actually interested in it. Right? Otherwise, why will they spend money on us? What is their trust in spending those funds for us? So since Bhaskarr is here, I would love to do something with TiE where we have something like what so kind of talked about, but I would love to make it self-sustaining, because anything that depends on funds does not last long, right? And sustainable ecosystems are very important to kind of and they teach a lot, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you on that. And also to keep in mind that when women engage in sport, because in India, if you see, most housewives makes decision about the families, although the husband is the one earning the money, right? So quietly, whatever is happening at home, it's a lady who's deciding on those things. So if she gets into sport, it doesn't have to be serious sports and understands. There is research that says that when women play sport, those families continue physical activity for many generations, right? And that is also good. And ultimately, the generational health impact that happens. So most of the preventable diseases we have today, which come as a disposition from our previous generations, can be reduced over a period of time. Certainly, when young people participate and play, they are a lot more healthy, and the genetic endowment they pass to their offspring is less loaded in terms of the passed on illnesses and diseases in terms of its intensity. And when you're fit and fine, you might not avoid what's passed on to you, but certainly you can delay its onset and the intensity of it. And over a few generations, it can get wiped out, right? And people who are happy perform well. So there's just massive impact of it. And also the feeling of community that brings about. I think that's what Dasara sport used to be about, right? I don't know how it is now. I'm so sorry. I've not been a part of it. But for me, growing up, Dasara sport is something we used to look at because it was more of a community kind of experience. So I agree with you on that, 100%.
So the next level, if you go to schools, inter-school tournaments, different schools participate in different school, inter-school tournaments, going to colleges, inter-college tournaments. This should happen often. Weekly tournaments emphasizes more involvement of the kids, of the school children and the college students into sport. Competitiveness develops into them and more results do come. And not that you give them incentives of bigger kind, but make it a practice that they get the exposure, spot the talent, because there's a lot of talent in our city and Mysore district. Yeah. So you need to give them the opportunity. When you don't give them a tournament play, and when you don't give them the exposure to further tournaments, that's when you are stagnant. So you need to conduct more and more tournaments, give them the needed exposure, spot the talent amongst that tournament play, pick the top 4, top 5, take them to the next level, make them play state level tournaments, and then they go higher. Don't you think it's the need of the hour in which we need to move forward in the school and college level? Because that's where the nucleus of the younger generation are at present.
I agree with you on that, but then what also happens is, at least this is what I've seen in India for the last 7 years, and this is what I experienced as well when I was in my high school. Yes, you play a lot of sport, you understand your skill, and you start getting your medals, and then you want to take that forward, but there has to be a system that actually helps you go forward as well. Because what happens is when you're ready and the system is not ready, then and you don't perform to your best over a period of time, you start believing that the problem is you. And there goes your self-esteem, and that can be dangerous. So what I would suggest is, while we're encouraging the grassroots, we also need to look at what can be done to build a system that is robust enough for those emerging out of it, you know.
This is where the district associations play a part. Each discipline has a district association. They conduct district events. So the next level goes to register them to the district associations in different sport, make a pathway to them, taking them in the right way and getting forward to state and national level representations through that.
And also to add to it, it has to be done responsibly, because in sports, high performance is less than 1% of all the people who put a lot of effort and reach the intermediate level, right? Because there are just 3 positions on the podium. For example, cricket, lakhs and lakhs of people in every state, young people play cricket. 11 make it to the team. We don't know if those 11 will make it to the podium. right? Now, of course, because it's commercialized well, there's a lot of money, in cricket. Again, it's a big assumption that it's only the cricketers that are making money. What I know during COVID, when IPL was on, and I was a part of it, I didn't like it that the stadium was empty and people were dying of COVID. But what I understood is there are good 30 to 40,000 families that depend on those salaries, and for that reason, IPL had to run, right? But coming back to what you're saying is, I don't think just having associations will help. First of all, they need to be educated on how to run the association, given the skills, given the support. That's where I think at a system level it's important. But there's danger when we encourage people to young people to play sport competitively without having something going on the side of sport. It's not because we doubt them or we doubt their talent, but it's as a responsible citizen, they themselves also should know that there has to be either entrepreneurship or education working on the side, because sport does not promise you a career for life.
Yeah, that's true, what you say, because
it does not.
We are not a sporting nation.
Even if we are, there's only that many positions.
Parents are not sure whether to take up sport or to go to education, because most of them, even now, it's little improved for the last 2 or 3 decades. Sport is picking up. The understanding is, parents are understanding that even my children can play sport and get a job and make it as a career, but still lots can be done.
I think those are responsible parents if they're worried about taking sport as a career, you see. I applaud those parents, because as a athlete parent, it does not come with a manual, one, right? And two, what are the options if you get injured, you're a national athlete, you're preparing for Asian Games, and 1 week before Asian Games, you end up with an injury where it's the end of your career, correct? So to me, as much as I love sport and I want everyone to be an Olympian, I think education is very, very important. Again, education, at least till secondary school, to understand who are you, what is that you want, to know how to add, subtract, multiply, just the basics of it. But then some more education in terms of understanding. You don't have to have your basic degree and post-graduation, but at least with secondary school education, you're aware of, if you're signing a contract, what are you signing on? Something as basic as that. And second, knowing that, when you have something going on the side, it gives you confidence to go all out for what you're passionate about.
Sports and studies go on parallel lines, and you should not neglect studies. As far as I know, in the present situation which we are, you should not neglect studies. It should go on par with sports as a discipline. When not everyone becomes champions and more talented. So children need to take up education on par with sport. So that should go on parallel lines.
Yeah, but that's where we need the system. You see, that's where the sports people and the education people and, parents need to come together and have those open conversations on how do we do it together. Everyone talks about Norway, right? I work with Norway. That's what happens there. The system, it's well thought through. It didn't just happen. It was very well thought through. It was intellectualized. And there's a plan in place, right? At least in my experience, if I were to talk about the podium finishers I've worked with, except for one athlete, every single person had either had a job or were a student athlete or had some business on the side. And again, the assumption that you need to drop everything to train for an Olympics is also wrong. It's about how do you go about smartly on how do you kind of invest that time. I understand that different sport need different kind of time commitment, but having experienced this for 25 years, I'm very confident that you can do education along with sport. India has NIOS. It's not a bad program if you're the one writing your exams and if you're the one preparing for it. Correct?
Yeah, true.
So there are pathways, but it has to be well thought through. So as much as I profess everyone take up sport, I want to be a little careful because it's a huge responsibility we have. But then over here too, there's a huge business opportunity, right? I think things become better when we monetize it, because when you get into a path of, taking the untrodden road, for example, right? Choosing a path that is different, you need to put time, emotion, and energy. Then who pays your bills? Who gives you food? Passion won't. We both eloped. Our love didn't feed us. We had to work. Correct? So it's important to monetize your passion because that will keep you going. That will be a motivator. And also there is investment of money as well in what you do, correct? So whatever we're talking about in terms of putting systems together, putting infra together, putting the thought together, sport education for that matter, which I was talking about, are business opportunities we have. It doesn't have to start grand. It can start small, right? But where I'm seeing success in the businesses I'm building is having business partners and doing it together. Not trying to reinvent the wheel, look at what's available and, bringing those efforts together and coming up with a strategy to optimize everyone's strength. So I think if we do put our thought, then all of what you're saying can be done. We don't have to wait for governance, administration. And that's going to take a little while till they get educated. And I want to believe their intention is good, but I think we need to support them as well, is what I feel.
Yeah, it's the right time to tap on the opportunities, as you said, and monetize and go into it, so that there's a lot of opportunities now. Infrastructure wise, you can start in your area, you can start tough indoor complexes with minimum investment. Go in for 2 or 3 games with a lot of background on the digitalization of data and the other things, and reach out to schools, communities, and in colleges and the stakeholders, and get people into it so that you can start small game centers where you can get into a sustainable way of giving sports and beginning in areas which there are no facilities.
Yeah, I have 2 things to add to that. Like how we don't want to do sports without having a plan B or having something on the side. The startup situation across the world, especially in India, is like what athletes go through. So there are lakhs and lakhs of startups that are starting every month. I am 3 of them that started the last few months. But not of them are going to be unicorns or see the best of times with the best intention. So it's very important that while you're getting started on a startup, to not drop everything in your life. If you can get a job, do something part-time, keep earning, even if the investors are telling you, unless you're 100% in it, we won't give you the money, don't take their money. In fact, the 3 startups I've started, the only investment I made, me along with my founders and co-founders, is the registration money. We haven't put a penny. We are purely depending on all the grants you get from the government, the support you get from the government. Every day, 3 of us, 4 of us, depending on which company I'm talking about, we're sitting and looking at where can we apply, what can we do. So there is a lot of support. But then none of us have dropped what we are doing. I'm still doing all of that Pradeep was talking about, because I also need to, yeah, I'm sorry. Because I also need to take care of my bills. I don't like to be dependent, right? Pradeep, you're there, sorry. And then, yeah, so please, that's one thing I need to tell you. Unless you're at a place in life where you have money, you don't have responsibilities, then perhaps you can focus on the startup without something else. This is really a request to the youngsters. Think smartly. This does not mean you'll fail at your startup or you need to doubt yourself, but till it gets to a point where it's generating revenue without burn, right? Oh, I can use those words now. It's important till it gets to a steady pace to do that, correct? And second, just take a look at the Khelo Bharat Niti. Anything and everything written there, the government of India has to show it in action in the next few years. And there are various kind of funds in Karnataka alone for sports. You don't have to look at the Beyond Bengaluru only. There are other funds. If your focus is on sports tech, if your focus is on supply chain, there are different kind of funds. So when you apply, be smart about how you're, pitching your company, how you're kind of aligning with the funds. If you ask me, my suggestion would be, if you see that you can solve a problem, which is through your startup, then also make some decisions about what your startup has to do, depending on the availability of funds and what are some things that the funds can be availed for, right? For me, with ArcShifts, we're trying to build integrated, system where you understand how you learn, adapt, correct? We have a psychometric part of it and we have biomarkers part of it, but we're also doing biometrics. So the question was, do we build our own biometric or use something that's already available and try it out? And what we realize is, if you are looking at the psychometrics and intervention part of it, there's some funds we can tap onto, but sport tech is the buzzword for most of these funds. And, we can take it. I thought it was our time. And as long as there's sports tech, then you can get those funds, whatever funds. It could be Elevate Next for women. If the major foundership, I don't know the exact number, my bad. You have additional funds for that, right? Grants from the government. So be smart about how you go about it. It is possible.
So, as she said, we are hosting a lot of international events in the India is coming forward to host more and more events. The Commonwealth Games in the next edition is going to be held in India, and the Khelo India youth programs have expanded throughout the country. And every individual has, there are different aspects of it. The Karnataka government, through the Department of Youth Empowerment and Sports, also has different programs in developing infrastructure in Bangalore and official centers. A velodrome is coming up in Mysore, in nearby the Ring Road. And a sports complex is also coming up in that. Adding to that, as there's a lot of opportunities where it can be tapped, because in this digital world, a lot of apps can be done for live scores, live presentations of ties, live streaming of matches, and going into different aspects of like live commentary. Somebody can take up to media, somebody can take up to video analysis, analytics. So sports science, strength and conditioning, fitness centers, So opportunities are there. So you need to go through the system where there is opportunities, the government funding is there, apply and try to go small, as she said in the beginning, and then develop it as it goes on.
And just to add to it, you don't have to be an athlete or a coach to do all of this. You don't even have to be a sports fan. More than 90% of people who make money out of sport never watch sport to start with. They start watching it when it started making money for them. Correct? So people who are favoring cricket are now with the Pro Panja League. That's where it's come to. Correct? So there's opportunity for everyone, but again, do it responsibly. Be responsible to yourself and tap in on what is there. And fail well, but don't give up on yourself. So I'd like to end there. Do you have something to say?
Wait, today's the younger generation are very keen to move forward and take up different positions in life. Sports teaches you life lessons, as I said earlier. So play sport, be healthy, become good citizens of India, and try to help each other what you know, and go forward and do it as positive. Believe in yourself. As she said earlier, you need to believe that I can do. Don't give up, because there may be obstacles. You can, if you have the willpower and if you need the positiveness to succeed and go in the right path, you will succeed. It might come to quicker to somebody, sometimes later to somebody else, but if your efforts are there in a positive manner, I think you will definitely succeed in life. So with that, I really say that this generation and the younger next coming generation needs to pick up on these aspects and be positive in the lookout and go parallel with your studies and see that you play some sport or the other and become good human beings and physically fit citizens of India.
My question is, what are some high recurring patterns in the high performance athletes that we need to imbibe as a
Shared that already. You want to know more?
yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you some of the assumptions. The assumptions are elite athletes are okay to wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. They're okay not to attend parties, not have a normal life, and that's false. At least in the few hundred Olympians I've worked with, I haven't come across one athlete who has not complained about what time they have to wake up, how hard they have to work. They're very passionate. They're willing to do that. But not everything about that journey is easy or joyful, correct? But you do it for the love of what you want to be, for the passion. I travel a lot. I hate it. Really, the moment the airport is nearing, I get a pit in my stomach. I don't like it. People think like you're a high flyer, you fly here, there. But I do it because I love everything I do. Correct? So I think those assumptions will be more helpful for you. And most of the elite athletes, when they talk in interviews, they're just talking about the good parts. Correct? Also to keep in mind, these greatest of all athletes, right? Some of them are extraordinary by design. I don't know if it's the universe or naturally, correct? And they are given as examples to be like them. My suggestion would be never aspire to be like anybody else, correct? Be yourself, trust yourself, but see what you can learn out of it. but also be wary of their journey. We have a Vaibhav Suryavanshi, correct? Now there's a pressure for every 14, 15-year-old. Oh God, if you're a cricketer of that age group, I feel so sorry for you. Because every parent is like, if he can do it, why can't you? Right? But that's not possible. And that does not mean that we should feel any less. Correct? So as long as we can strive to be our best at what we do, then we are doing justice to ourselves. And these greatest of athletes, all athletes, at least the ones I worked with, none of them knew that this is what they have. It happened because they were at it. But then at some point, if things get too much, it's okay to say no to it and move on to something else. You know what I mean? Passion is good, obsession and stubbornness is not good. So I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Yeah. Good evening, Bhuvan here. First question to Mr. Krishnan. So when you have an athlete who say has a bad season or is not able to really give his performance in a game, as a journalist, sometimes you will need to be a critique, right? So how do you give out a proper article without attacking them personally or giving a comment that they don't, hit on?
My question too.
Ma'am, as a journalist, have you seen cases where a high-performing athlete has been troubled by a bad review or a bad comment? And how exactly do you go about getting them back in their game? Thank you.
He's a good man, but thank you for that question.
Journalism teaches you ethics.
Really? You're different. Sorry.
No, today's journalism, I don't know, but we need to rely basically on the ethics part of it. We need to be fair.
Before that, so you should presume and then answer.
Huh?
There was an if. She said if there is a bad thing or that kind of thing, presume. It's not about you, it's about if.
No. See, there are circumstances like if it happens, we need to judge what to write, where not to put the blame on the player. The judge is there, the umpire is there, or the referee is there, or the decision is given by a third umpire or a referee. We need to be fair on the decision of what we are writing. We need to be fair on the game. We can't debate on what penalty he should get or what should be the athlete should suffer. These things are not to be written. According to me, you should be fair and be precise on what you see on the game. Game aspect is what you report. When you go to the game, you are more keenly watching upon the performance of both the teams and how they fare. Not on the negative side of the unruly behavior or what this fellow did on the field. It's not up to a journalist to pinpoint saying that, oh, he threw the racket, so he's abusive. So
ma'am,
it's part and parcel of any sport to have such things, but you can just touch a point that maybe improve upon his behavior.
yeah, ma'am, corollary to his question, just adding to the same thing. I'm saying if in case such a thing happens, then how do you guide the sports person to circumnavigate that, get over that, number one? And number two, what lessons does it hold for entrepreneurs here who also face criticism from everybody, including media that is not as kind as this gentleman, but otherwise?
I'll ask you to remind me of those two questions because there's something I need to add to this first, correct? So, journalism is about what is consumed. I agree with you. And, I know how he writes. So, what he's saying is correct. And that is what journalism was meant to be. So, if you're consuming sensationalism, then journalism will give you that. You see? So I'm sorry, my generation and the generation after me, I don't want to talk about those ahead of me, we started consuming sensationalized content And that's where things changed, correct? But the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha today, you're very honest people. You're a totally misunderstood lot. And I very strongly believe that. There are 4 co-founders I'm working with who are Gen Z, and we are having a blast, correct? Having said that, you also have the responsibility of not giving it the views. So what typically happens when you see something that you don't like? You forward it a lot more, and that generate more views. And that is what SEOs are based on. And that is what how much money is invested into sponsoring is based on. The number of eyes. Things have improved a little bit now. They're not just looking at the viewership or the number of views. They're also looking at what's engaging. So take opportunity and leave a thought over there. And then let's say we're calling out a journalist who has written something in bad taste. Writing a comment in bad taste, we are doing exactly that. So if you could just tell them, while you're putting effort at it, how about you also look at that? So I think journalism today, again, having traveled across countries and read news in various countries, if I look at what's happening in India today, is journalism is, or any form of content creation is driven by consumption. And if our tastes change, then the content has to change. There's no other choice. Yeah, so that I would say that.
So
now, what were your 2
to-
questions? Sorry.
No,
Coming
this
back
question, and I was trying to,
No,
lend
I'll answer
clarity
it.
to that. So, to ma'am, please. And
So you wanted to know, the first question was, what do I
how
talk to
do
my
you
athletes?
help a sports person get over, unreasonable criticism and stuff like that? Since you are working with high performance people
Yeah.
who could be bogged down by a bad article or a bad social media post.
It does
against
affect them. Like he pointed out correctly, it does affect them because when you're very passionate, everything touches you, big and small, even outside of sport, correct? I encourage them to be honest with how they're feeling. I discourage them to be okay with it. I also encourage them to talk about what was not okay about it. And most of my clients do whenever they get that opportunity. But however, when they're giving interviews, the way they call out others or what they share about themselves, or let's say they're unhappy with a system around them, how they go about making that complaint or putting that message across. If that is very negative, then they're just doing exactly what they called out, correct? So being very mindful of how they operate while they're calling others out. And second, most people who troll on social media are not happy people. Because happy people will never engage in negative stuff. Even if someone had a lot of time, and if they're okay having that time, they will not use the keyboard to type wrong things or negative things. These people need a little prayer. And who are we allowing to control our emotions? That is not easy to build, that resilience. But that's an important question to ask. Do you respect that person who's writing that comment to a point that you're allowing it to affect you? But you must call it out. You can't just ignore it. If you saw it, or if your team saw it, call it out. But do not allow it to touch your heart. Because when you don't respect that, then you can't give that comment the permission to impact your emotions. That is what I think should help work for any performer. Entrepreneurship is Olympics several times in a week sometimes. At least with the Olympics, it comes once in 4 years. But, entrepreneurship is very, very tough. And as much as there is to gain, there's so much to lose as well. That serves me, that seems to serve them. And I'll leave you with that.
Okay. Good evening, Dr. Sanjana. Hello, sir, and good evening, everyone. So this is coming as a player and a coach. For last 26 years, I have been running a chess organization in US. So I currently play and I'm a former state champion. So this is something both personally have gone through, and I still deal with players who come for our activities. You mentioned about earlier failing, and you told it's okay to hurt, right? Whenever there is a tournament where it's a knockout event, other sports where you're done, you lose, it was a hard loss, and you're done with it, it is okay. But games like sometimes you still have a couple of rounds left, especially chess. We cannot even blame others if it's a hard loss. If you're still dealing with it, next day you cannot go and perform. How do we deal? Me as a player and both as a coach, I really like to know this because somebody who can still make it to top 3, they've hurt the remaining rounds because they had a very tough loss. And this is a very practical issue I face with elementary kids or high school or even young adults or even experienced players like myself.
So there's no one answer to it, but since you're anyways asking, I'll leave you with this. One, it really depends on how they operate as an individual, correct? But more importantly, accepting that a loss has happened, correct? While you're hurting, and being smart about the fact that there's the next opportunity where you need to be your best. Correct? So you don't have to snub yourself from hurting and say, put this aside, focus on next. You could be hurting, but the moment you start focusing on the whatever you have next for you, automatically this pain will either die down or manage itself. Most of us are focusing too much on what's not going great. And what I'll also leave you is, it's how they process that loss, correct? It's how they kind of have that conversation with themselves after every match. And this starts during training. So let's say for your chess, you're spending a week on the openings, correct? And openings can be so different, and you're giving them different problems to decide on what opening is best, or you're working on the lines for that matter. So when they're not doing well, the kind of feedback the coach gives them over a period of time becomes their voice too. So if the immediate effort of the coach, and they're paid to do that, right, to help them see where they went wrong and correct it. But along with that, if the focus is also, hey, what about it worked? And what about it needs improvement? This is what becomes their own self-talk, and this is how they analyze post-match. So it's the mentality is what I'm saying. Emotions will hurt because you want them to be human. You don't want them to become numb. But their achievement orientation, their mentality, and also what will help for you to check is when they're approaching a context or a match, are they approaching with a motivation to avoid failure? Or are they approaching with a motivation to go all out and give their best? For both, the outcome they're wanting is success. And they must, because that's what they're training for, right? But if their orientation or the mentality is to avoid failure, they're adding more pressure because they're focused on the what ifs, the mistakes. And that to me talks a lot about their low self-belief. So that needs to be corrected.
Okay.
After all that is corrected, you don't even have to put effort on telling them what they're supposed to do when things don't go with their way and they need to prepare for the next match, because that mentality will take care of it. I'm sorry, this is what I can leave you with.
No, that helps.
But a lot depends on the individual, especially with the game of chess.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, this has been very insightful, and thank you both and everyone. And earlier, like he mentioned about the sports journalism, I'm one of those Mysore sports persons who have been very much encouraged by CKM sir, like any other cricketers or skaters or swimmers. So I thank him and Mysuru community for that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Oh. Sorry, I didn't wish you all good evening. And I didn't thank Bhaskarr and TiE team for having us here. Sorry.
Kavya is a state champion, a former Karnataka champion in chess, and her sister Kavana is also a state champion in chess.
Oh.
Products of Ideal Java Rotary School, and now they are in US. She's teaching young children.
See, I told you he's an encyclopedia. He won't know just about the sport. He'll know about every athlete, what they do, where they are, how many children, what the children are doing. Now, don't go get into their dating life. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll try.
Good evening, this is Ullas. This question is to Krishnan sir. Regarding the facilities which is available in Bangalore, considering Mysore, which is a tier 2 city, we find that a lot of players, youngsters, they keep migrating. Initially, they start their career in Mysore, play till the age of 15, 16 or 17, then look for an opportunity and then migrate to Bangalore or other metropolitan cities. I think that there is not that kind of facilities which is competitive enough for them to take forward. So my question to you is, sir, what is that you look upon in the future years which might lift Mysore up and have independent players rooted to their own cities as players here rather than migrating to different cities, which involves a lot of expense, relocation, and again, they have to settle down once more.
I agree, because high performance skilled coaches from the lower level next to the middle level and the higher level, you don't find as many coaches in the higher level, as you say, as they develop. So you need to more and more coaches have to come up in 2 tier cities where they are qualified enough to go and teach the children in different disciplines. As you said, that in the after age of 16 or 17, when they are 8, they go to Bangalore to have participate in the men's and the higher level tournaments. Coaching also needs to be picked up in 2 tier cities. More number of coaches have to take up to exams, pass their exams, get qualified, and start taking up this seriously, so that 2 tier cities also can stand up to metros in the way of giving results in the higher level. So in the days to come, there are the NIS has started diploma courses for coaches in different disciplines, short-term 6 months and 1-year courses in NIS Bangalore, and many Mysore, as I know, many people from Mysore University College of Physical Education, which is in Mysore, based in Mysore, have MPEd and BPEd graduates who are getting qualified through NIS centers and accepting coaching in the higher level in different disciplines. Maybe in the days to come, Department of Youth Services and Sports, which has its head office in Mysore at Chamandi Vihar Stadium, will cater to the needs with an high performance excellence center which is coming up in Chamandi Vihar Stadium, like one in Kantirua Stadium, which the government has invested, where more and more coaches are going to be employed in different disciplines to cater to the needs of 2 tier cities, in Mysore especially.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, all. I am Satyajit. So I am very keen to get one answer. So I thought I would get in this meeting. So I would keep it crisp. So passionate people can do anything wherever, regardless the place. So, but why others in the West think that India is due to poverty or something or some other things. India can't be having as much as that many gold medalists than in others, and that's how the West thinks. So So, with your experience, sir and ma'am, like, what do you think the main reason is? It maybe we can blame on infrastructure, or maybe we can blame on the government. Like, maybe we can blame their energetic people.
They'll blame that.
So, that what exactly that you have seen over the decades? Like, what exactly may be the main reason? That I would like to know. What do you think about it?
I'll keep it short. Otherwise, Bhaskar will scold me on a message.
Sure, ma'am.
So, the assumption that if you're passionate, that you can do anything everywhere is wrong. That is a very wrong assumption, because you have passion, but you also need opportunity. You need the support. When we're talking about high performance, it's not a joke. There are very few people who can eat dal chawal, anna saru, mosrana and still perform. But for most of us, that is not going to happen, because naturally they're born like that. Correct? So that's a wrong assumption. I always get asked this question when I started my Olympics. My clients and coaches would accept me, but it would take a while for the sports science and sports medicine teams to accept me, because I was an Indian who came from a country where there was not a single Olympic medal. Correct? What I think is we don't have a dearth of talent, but then the way you harness talent, there is a method to that madness, and India is figuring it out. We are nearly there. We'll get there. So smart thinking, systems, education is needed.
You need to still add upon that. It's really hard work, and talent takes you places. If you have the talent in you, and if you perform, nobody can stop you. No selector can deny your place in any team. So you need to go in the right path, take part in tournaments and perform. Once you perform, the selector cannot drop you. Keep performing. He cannot say that I will not take you. So it's up to the sportsman to go in the right path without deviating from his goal. Set goal. You need to have a goal. You don't need to have a goal set for you to reach, and then go in the right path towards success. And talent needs to be there to go forward and work hard with good amount of effort in it.
Yeah, quick final question, Dr. Sanjana. Yeah, right. I think you draw the parallel perfectly with respect to entrepreneurs and highlight sports. And you also mentioned that entrepreneurs have much more harder effort is required with respect for their engagement. So Forbes 500 stats also tells that 70-80% of the founders and CEOs are having a sports background. So do you see there is a perfect parallel when the entrepreneurs and the founders go through that, the challenges on day-to-day basis? Sports helps them with respect to decision making, commitment, and also the efforts which is required.
I'll repeat your question. So what you're saying is, you've come across a bigger bunch of founders who do well, seem to have played sport.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think that is why I also do what I do. Because trust me, with how lazy I was and how silly I was and how spoiled I was for anything in life, I didn't know that I had this person in me, correct? And adversity brought the best out of me. But that I survived it and I had the resilience. It must be my high school days where I worked hard at sport. Sport allows you to fail well. Sport gives you many opportunities. Sports is at least in my experience, the only ecosystem that will give you many opportunities to fall and get back up and work hard and do something about it. And sport also teaches you courage to not give up on yourself, right? And I think when you've played well, when you've engaged in sports, the way your memory is formed, the way it's coded, the way it's retained, that's what to say, that's a training to your brain, right? You can't be less intelligent and play sport. That's also something I understand. So to play sport, you need intelligence because you need to strategize, you need to decide, you need to communicate, you need to trust, you need to size it up, down, whatever it is. And when you're doing it again and again and again, unintentionally, that is what you're building. That becomes your core, correct? And when you need it, then your core shows up. That's a connection I see.
It becomes a muscle memory.
Yeah, muscle memory, and also I think that your mentality also changes about things.
Yeah.
For example, the way I was raised, I don't think I would have the courage to elope with him. I didn't even ask him where he's taking me. Sorry, Kiran. But that's a fact. I mean it. That must be because of sport, right? So I'm also trying to figure, but sport always gives.
Correct.
It never takes.
Even today, I've seen there are even elite founders, or maybe you call it in the business world, they fall back on sports to to learn that, or maybe to unleash whatever they want to get away from that.
Because you can't pretend in sport. There's no pretense. I gave him, made notes for him and he passed. But there's no way I can play for him in sport. So there's no way you can cheat performance, your true potential in sport, unless, of course, you're taking performance-enhancing drugs and you'll get caught. But...
Thank you.
Ma'am, one last question. So one of India's toughest challenges today in terms of sports, I don't know if we have a platform or probably work on a PPP model with the government, is sports parenting. So I come from a sport, me and Kiran sir have played tennis for the last 28 years, I've coached for a while as well. The first concern has always been parents. They would ask us a lot of things. Say, simple one is basically about expectations. The next thing, team sport, non-team sport, racket sport, non-racket sports, or probably even they go touch, non-touch. They have the awareness, but their expectations too high, and that puts a lot of pressure not on them, but you feel sorry for the kid. So, do we have a platform where we get some professional support? As coaches, that's very, very important for us because we know where to start. But do we have a professional support, either a private company or probably from the government, where they're like the Gujarat government has done a lot of PPP model. They've taken the infrastructure that they've done. I think they've done it with Reliance Sports. But is there anything on the digital platform where it helps parents to rightly guide their children, then help the coaches as well?
Well, I had built an app a few years ago and I walked out of it, and that did exactly that. That helped people understand themselves, that helped coaches understand their
because
coaching
that's
philosophy.
the major concern today. Because everybody,
but that's a huge business opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly what's talking, because anybody who comes and plays tennis, the first thing their expectations is Wimbledon, French, or whatever. So that does not happen directly.
And not just that, right? Every child feels the child is the best. Every parent feels the child is the best, and there's nothing wrong about it, right? And expectations will be there, and parents also expect return of investment. Talk to Kiran, he'll tell you. I disagree with that. But then what I'm saying is it does not take a psychologist to do that. I do that with whoever I work with. And also these days, the Olympians I work with are children. More than 50% of them are 13 and 14 who are training for LA 2028. And my youngest athlete who has signed up recently, 2 months ago, is all of 9 years old, planning for a medal in 2032, right? Very good at what they do. Already top at the Asian level, if you look at the skill. So, athlete parenting does not come with the instruction manual, but there's a lot of parents who've lived that life and who have so much to share, correct? And for people like you who are interested in sport, who watch sport, who understand sport, to put that thought into some kind of a product which the parents can consume, why not? If you're interested, let me know. Let's get started on one. Yeah. Now, Rajni, just take over.
Yeah, I know people have a lot of questions. Probably we can do during the dinner. May I request the board members to please come hand over a memento.
Thank you for hosting us, Anand.
While we do that, I obviously it was a phenomenal discussion. Obviously, there are still a lot of questions that you guys have in terms of how sports, the world of sports, will really work, right? But I also think there is still a lot of questions, at least in my head, as to what are the real opportunities in the sports entrepreneurship, right? So there's one that Mr. Krishnan brought up, which is about community-based sports, and that's, I think, is a great opportunity. But there are a lot of other opportunities that I would like to have explored a lot more, given both of your background. But that is probably for another day. But thank you so very much. I think we really, really enjoyed having both of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjana and Mr. Krishnan. It was a wonderful session, and I'm sure the range of questions that people asked show how exciting and interesting it was, and how still they are interested. Would encourage everybody to interact while you have your dinner. One thing that I would take away from this for TiE is that with the President's permission and the events committee, we should do a TiE member sporting league going forward as an activity. Like he said, between areas, we'll also do between companies or between startups, between AMs and CMs or students and CMs and so on. That's one for the events committee, Anand, for us to write down. I believe Dr. Sanjana gave an answer for that. So, well, yeah. Also, thanks to Dr. Sanjana for traveling from whichever part of the world to here, because every time we spoke to you, we don't know where you are. So you might have traveled through many places to be here. So thank you for that. And thank you for being so genuine about your journey, your story. It really was touching, moving, and it was nice to know a lot behind the person also, and not just the profession. Mr. Krishnan, also thank you so much for sharing your vast journey of experience and how talent is really important and how people should be really focused on what they do. I hope everybody here will be enthused, if not to become sports stars, at least to keep yourself fit and to try something in sports that you might have left off. Rajni, the ED of TiE, and I were talking at the back on having some Gilli Danda tournament, some Kuntebelle and all that, which we forgot over the course of the years. Probably that also will be kindled in all of us. Thanks to TiE Mysuru's events committee for coming up with this concept with the guidance of the president. Thank you, the board members, charter members, associate members, student members, institutional partners, and a whole room of audience for being here on a Sunday evening. We generally don't do programs on a Sunday. Probably this is the only one I remember being on a Sunday this year, and it's a full house, so that's a wonderful sign. Also thanks to the hotel, Arcor, the events committee, and everybody here for being a part of today's event. Have a wonderful evening and wish you a sportive week ahead. Thank you, everybody.